Welcome to a new planetary and seismic update. We look at the SSGI graph from the previous time frame where I marked the planetary lunar geometry with the convergence from the 23rd to the 25th. We had 27, 28 have some convergence, especially Venus, Mercury, Earth in alignment on the 28th. And then we had the full moon and the lunar eclipse, a critical convergence of planetary and lunar geometry. I mark this as potentially the most critical time. And if you look at the seismic activity that we did have a clustering of stronger earthquakes peaking magnitude 6.1 at the Fox Islands on the 23rd, additional stronger earthquakes on the 25th and the 26th, 5.7 off the east coast of Kamchatka. The lunar peak on the 27th did not directly result in stronger seismic activity as I anticipated, but Earth's alignment with Mercury and Venus, that resulted in a stronger seismic event, 6.3, again deep below Fiji, an additional 5.5 at the Kyushu, Japan region, and there was some seismic increase, even some clustering between Japan and Taiwan, and that is something to keep in mind. Then, as we entered the most critical convergence of planetary and lunar geometry, we had an obvious seismic increase. And if you look at the seismic activity from the 1st to the 4th, we had 4 magnitude 6 earthquakes in 4 days. That is well above average, and it peaked 6.4 so far at the Red Islands, Aleutian Islands. An obvious seismic response to the critical convergence, but as I said in the previous update, it very much depends on the stress levels in Earth's crust, what the seismic response is going to be, and indeed it did stay below magnitude 7 so far. We have the lunar peak later on the 4th, that was yesterday night, and if you look at the next time frame, it converged here with Mercury, Venus, Saturn. We also have Mercury, Venus, Neptune. That's the high peak just here on the edge. And if you look at the solar system, I already explained this in the previous update. Mercury, Venus, Neptune and Saturn, that's critical convergence, followed by lunar geometry, also with Venus, Saturn and Neptune. Again, so far only magnitude 6.4, but there is the potential for additional larger seismic event potentially later today, tomorrow, following that high lunar peak, because it really was critical planetary geometry with Mercury, Venus, Saturn and Mercury, Venus, Neptune. Quite a critical convergence. Only 6.4 so far is definitely on the lower seismic scale. Again, later today, tomorrow, there is the potential for a larger seismic event. If we look at what's going to happen here in this time frame up until the 13th, we see a high blue peak and also a blue peak here on the 8th. This is on the 7th and 8th of March, and this is because of a near quadruple conjunction with Earth, Venus, Saturn and Neptune. And if you look carefully, we see also Sun, Mercury, Earth right in there, and this is the reason for the high blue peak, because Earth is involved in both planetary alignments, as are Mercury and Venus. This is a really critical convergence here on the 7th. If we look at the solar system, we see Earth, Venus, Saturn and Neptune in a near quadruple conjunction, and also Earth in an alignment with Mercury and the Sun. And if you look at the near quadruple convergence, this is on the 7th and 8th. There's about 24 hours in between those two alignments, so it's a near quadruple conjunction, not exact. But look at Sun, Mercury, Earth. That happens in the morning of the 7th, and within half an hour we have also Earth, Venus, Neptune. So Earth, Mercury and the Sun, and also Earth, Venus and Neptune, they happen practically at the same time, and that's a really critical convergence because Earth is involved in both alignments, but also Mercury and Venus. And as a result, we can have a significant seismic response. I'd say on the 8th, but we have also Moon, Earth, Uranus coming up as a significant seismic modulator here. So it's difficult to say exactly when the largest seismic response is going to happen relative to this planetary geometry on the 7th and 8th. But I'd say be on extra alert, especially on 8, 9 and 10 March. There can be an obvious seismic response, higher 6 magnitude 7, maybe even 2 seismic events. Because this is really critical geometry here, the near quadruple conjunction on 7 and 8 March. Then from 10 to 12 March we have primarily planetary geometry involving Mercury. Earth is not directly involved, there's no critical lunar geometry directly in here. We also have Venus, Mercury, Uranus. There's a critical combination of these 3 planets in a semi-right angle of 135 degrees on the 10th, followed by Mercury, Sun, Neptune, Mercury, Sun, Uranus. This is also a near quadruple conjunction with Mercury, Sun, Saturn and Neptune. We see that here in the solar system. Mercury, Sun, there is Saturn and Neptune. They're still in the same region of space here. Look at Venus at 135 degrees with Mercury and with Uranus. That happens in the morning of the 10th, and then less than 24 hours later we see Mercury, Sun, Neptune, and then within 15 hours also Mercury, Sun, Saturn. This can be a critical convergence, but again, Earth is not directly involved here, so I suspect there can be increased seismic activity, the typical higher 5 magnitude earthquakes. Difficult to say, but then as we approach the lunar peak on the 13th, that's the moon's opposition with Jupiter, I suspect there can be a seismic increase. This is an important seismic modulator here as well. So around the 13th, could already be on the 12th, but I suspect 13th, 14th, maybe the 15th if it arrives later. So within 2.5 days from that lunar peak, there can be an obvious seismic response because of the planetary geometry that we have from the 10th to the 12th. So there may not be a really obvious seismic response, a large earthquake, directly as a result of this planetary geometry. That can actually happen after, at the time or after the moon's alignment here, the opposition with Jupiter. This is what we're going to have in the coming time frame. Be on extra alert on 8, 9, 10 approximately, because this planetary geometry here is really significant, because Earth is very much involved here, as are Mercury and Venus at the same time here on the 7th. Be on extra alert. Look at the updates on our website and the social media, additional updates, and be on extra alert. Stay safe, and until next time.